Welcome back to Speak Up Queen, the podcast where we empower, uplift, and celebrate women who have reclaimed their voices to inspire others. Today, we are thrilled to welcome the remarkable Gabby Garland to Speak Up Queen. Gabby is a podcast producer, speaker, and the powerhouse behind Resilient Voice Media, a podcast production and media agency that help individuals with incredible messages make a big impact. With certifications in NLP, trauma Gnosis, and Reiki, Gabby brings a unique blend of transformation healing and media expertise to her work. As the host of the Resilient Heart podcast and the founder of the Resilient Heart agency, she focuses on building solid foundations for personal and professional growth. Gabby believes in sharing the messy pieces of our stories to foster connection, community, and healing. Her passion lies in empowering the underdog, the one without a million followers, but with a powerful message to turn their small reach into a global impact. Let's give a warm welcome to Gabby Garland, a trailblazer for connection, resilience, and transformational storytelling.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. That was like, I'm like, can I get you to introduce me everywhere I go at this point? Like, that was perfect.
I will send it through to you. Gabby, what does healing mean to you, and how has your journey toward it shaped the woman you are today?
Man, today I will admit today is a hard day. A very dear friend passed away early this morning, and so today is when I think about healing, when I think about this particular circumstance, and I am doing my best not to cry on this interview. Um, I think that when you look at healing and when you look at what healing does for your life when you're moving forward, I genuinely believe you cannot be your whole self in the world in a way that feels authentic to you if you haven't done some of that work, because you're taking with you belief systems that don't carry anymore, and thought process that you heard growing up, or things that teacher told you about you're not smart or you're this or you're that. And I think healing is the key that helps us unlock who we're meant to be. It doesn't mean it makes it easy, but it means I always look at it in terms of, if we don't do this work, then whatever impact we're meant to have, we never get there because we never believed that we should do it. And, I stumbled on podcasting, I stumbled on healing work. There was never, I didn't go into launching a business going, this is what I'm going to do. It was just kind of found me, which I think is when you know that's what it's supposed to be, even if it doesn't always look how you think it was going to. But everything that I get to do now is because I never want another woman to sit in the space that I sat for so many years, as a survivor of domestic violence, and been through just the absolute ringer, some self-induced, some of it was circumstantial. But just, I'm really loving life now, even when it's not great and when I'm struggling in some capacity. Uh, and I just want women to be able to do that, because I see too often we don't believe our value, we don't know our worthiness, we don't understand how talented and brilliant and gifted that we are. And when we don't heal, then those gifts never get to make the impact that they're meant to.
I'm sorry that you've lost your friend.
Thank you.
That's not always nice. That's a process on your own. Grieving is something that is also a journey. I've lost three phenomenal women in just 3 months, in 6 months, and it is so. My that one, that English one. I'm sorry that my Afrikaans brain is taking over this year, and I'm trying to keep it like, Marika, keep your Afrikaans brain for just a moment there. It's English. I'm so
No,
sorry.
I love that.
I can spell it out for you, but I can't say it at this moment.
Listen, there's a couple words like that for me too. There's no judgment here.
But thanks for showing up under these circumstances. It's just, again, showing that your story matters, that you are willing to, under all the circumstances, you're still showing up, not just for yourself, but for each and every woman that's listening today on this special interview or episode, that we still need to show up. No matter what, we still need to show up. Um, and we are not alone. That's the thing. We are not alone. So big hugs for you.
Thank
And
you.
yes. Can you share a moment when you chose self-discovery over self-doubt, and what have you learned about it?
Mm, I think for me, self-discovery came. with the boldness of launching a podcast because I can't, I mean, because it's what I do every day. I get to talk to people all the time. They're like, oh, and I've wanted to start a podcast for 20 years and I just never did it. I didn't know what to do and this and that. And I think too often, even one of my own clients was like, the who is more important than the how. Like if you find somebody who can help you, then the how will work itself out. And I remember thinking that is such a beautiful way to think of things. And I think too often, um, we don't we don't end up doing what we're meant to do because one, we have to maybe hire somebody to help us get it done, or two, we get so stuck in our head that we don't do it. And for me, the big shift in my whole life and why I love what I get to do every day is because my podcast really did change my life. It gave me some understanding. It built community. It helped women see that they weren't the only ones. And I think there isn't enough of it. And I didn't know back when I launched my show 4 years ago, almost it'll be 5 years in August. Um, I didn't know. And I think sometimes we think, oh, we should do something. And then we're like, oh, I don't know how that would work out. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. And, you know, but when you have something that's just keeps kind of tugging at you, if someone's listening and they're going, whatever that is, if it's writing a book, creating a journal, volunteering, like it doesn't have to be a money-making venture, but when that thing tugs at you, there's a reason. And I think that when we don't lean into those reasons, we don't get to do the really cool stuff, which um, I think it's a missed opportunity. It's a missed gift.
And you said it so beautiful because I didn't think about podcasting ever. And then I was at a change maker workshop, and I always just wanted to be a coach and help women to heal, grow, and thrive. But then we had to go like 5 levels deep on why do you want to do that? And that's when I was 17 and I was silenced. One police officer said, Marika, you just broke a generational curse. I'm proud of you. And when I had to retell my story, that detective said, I've asked for it. No one will believe me. And it was all my fault. And that person kept me silent for 13 years. So on my 30th birthday, we moved to Australia. And that's when I decided I want to go on this healing journey. Well, 5 years later, 6, 7, 8 weeks ago, I decided to start Speak Up Queen podcast. I didn't
I
know
love
where to
it.
start. I just did it. I've published 80 episodes in just 6 weeks. Um, so there's no excuse for you not to start. There is just start anyway. I didn't even know or anything. Still don't know anything about podcasting. I just do what I love. And when I just want to create safe spaces for women so that they never feel silence in their life again. So that this
Mhm.
platform is for them to share their stories. Like you are here to share your story. It is just as easy as just start whenever, like you said, it can be volunteer. It's just you've got something in your heart that it's still saying, Marika, but you want to create you. And it took me 5 years to say, oh, this is actually what I wanted to do. And not the other things, but I do enjoy the rest of the things. But it's just starting. And even though you don't know, just start anyway, because it's like just like healing. It's also a journey. It's gonna be messy, but oh my word, you get so much, like you said, with meeting new people. I've learned so much about myself with each one of you speakers showing up. I'm like, what? I am not
Yeah,
alone. I've got a community
yeah,
of badass, powerful queens all around the world. And that's what this is all about. There's so many women out there who has podcasts, are making the change, who are creating spaces for women specifically. Um, so that we as women never feel that we are alone, we are silenced, or we are voiceless. Just
yeah.
know, to each one listening, just know that there's a tribe out there waiting for you to listen, waiting for you to share it with other women. Yeah, it's just amazing how things just align with us at the right time.
Yeah. No, it is. It
What's
is.
one life challenge that made you stronger, and how did it lead to personal growth?
Hmm. I think honestly, the loss of the combination of the loss of our first baby and then the diagnosis for our son who has a heart condition, I think one, it was some of the darkest times for me, but it was also a way to look at the world through a different lens. And I think at the time I didn't have the perspective because it was just a lot. Um, Now I have the perspective to look back at um, and understand all of the healing that I ended up kind of throwing myself into is really what happened, was in service of my babies and my husband. I was like, I can't, I knew how I felt and I knew I can't stay like this. This can't continue to be my narrative. And so I looked at it as I'll take whatever means necessary to figure out my stuff so that I can move forward and move on. And that's when I found Reiki and I found hypnosis and I found NLP, and then ended up getting certified in all of the above. And then I'm going to get a breathwork certification coming this year. But I think um, our darkest seasons bring us our biggest lessons. I genuinely believe that. And it's just whether or not you can hold strong enough, long enough to glean the lesson at the end of the trial or the storm. Um, but yeah, that was probably the biggest as far as this last, 10 years or so of my life is that shift was the biggest one for me for sure.
Women are often seen as nurturers. How do you balance nurturing others while ensuring your growth and well-being?
Mm. I am the queen of my phone stays on do not disturb. I check it often enough that if there's a call I need to get on, I'll get on it. But for me, it's a self-care thing where I you don't automatically have access to me. There is a boundary that's set there. And I think we need to make sure that we do that because when we don't, when we pour and we do and we help everybody else, uh, things that we end up needing don't get taken care of. And even within this, I was just telling my husband, was putting dinner together and it's cooking now, before I came down. And it was, I told him, I was like, thank you for giving me the grace to go and be with my friend these last 8 months as she was going through cancer. Um, and the way that we show up for others is a reflection of the way that we show up for ourselves. Like, um, it, I think, I don't know. That one, I don't know. I think my brain just like died on me because today's kind of a lot.
No, that's okay. That is what it's all about. It's a safe space for women to be themselves. We are showing up authentically, and it is my motto that we don't edit any videos. We don't need fixing. We need to show up as vulnerable as we can. So that is okay. So please don't stress about it. Um, the fact that you have been with your friend for 8 months is showing that you really care, and that, like you said, it's a reflection of your own self-care. So, and I truly believe in the law of attraction. So what you give out, you're going to receive back. So yeah, just know that you've done an amazing job, and she was honored to have a friend like you that was with her at her bedside. Yeah, that's just an amazing friend. And
Yeah, she
yeah,
was
you were,
incredible. Incredible.
well, she's looking off to you or down to you and just smiling, because you are still showing up, and that's just amazing. Yeah, you are amazing. You are just so inspiring that no matter the circumstances, you still show up. So just give yourself a hug.
Thank you. Thank
Um,
you.
what inspired you to reclaim your voice, and how has that choice impacted your life?
Mm. I don't I don't know, to be honest with you, what was the catalyst for it. I know I wasn't in a great headspace. I was definitely home a lot. Uh, but when I think about the catalyst to figure out myself and find my voice and find my purpose and all of the, woo-woo things that I talk about, um, it was because I wanted to become somebody I wasn't yet. And I did a session, a breathwork session with somebody who ended up being, she's now a dear friend. that I didn't know what breathwork was. It was just like one of those things you scroll on Instagram and you see this event, and you're like, oh, I feel like I should go to that. And I was like, okay, well, let me, it was like, $99. It was during the day, it was during the pandemic. And the first round of guests, I didn't really glean much from. I was like, oh, whatever. The last one, she was talking about breathwork. And I remember thinking, I don't even know what this is. This is dumb. I'll turn the lights on. Let me get in the bed. She's giving us the whole rundown of how to get ready for this. And um, the session was about your future self. Like, who do you want to become? And I hadn't, because I had been so deep in postpartum depression, I didn't really think outside of my immediate circumstances. It's like this baby has heart surgeries and inpatient stays and all of these things. And so I couldn't really see past my immediate circumstances to figure out, what does Gabby want to do? Like, this isn't going to be a storm that lasts forever. What do I want to do next? And that session, I actually got to see that vision of what I, in my mind and my heart, wanted to be. And it unlocked something for me where I was like, I didn't know purge cries were a thing. Like, I was like, what the hell is happening to my body right now? Because I couldn't turn the tears off. And, but it also made me really excited. And that was the shift that started a lot of what has become now five plus years later.
Oh, amazing. What advice would you give to women who feel silenced or overlooked in their personal or professional lives?
I think you have to inventory your circle. Like, you really have to look at when you don't feel seen, when you don't feel heard, when you don't feel respected or cherished in your immediate environment, or like you can't use your voice, then that is a misalignment for you in your environment and in the spaces that you're showing up in. Because not everywhere we're going to go, we're going to be celebrated and loved and appreciated. But if we can choose where we go, then we need to choose where's best for us. And I think if we're in an environment where, it's that when you think about success or you think about joy or you think about happiness, um, there's so many times where we can tell people the really tough stuff, like my friend passed away, I lost my job, life sucks. We can commiserate really easily, but sometimes it's really hard to talk about success. It's hard to talk about, oh my gosh, my podcast is doing this, and I just talked to this person, and the interview was amazing, and I had this networking meeting, and I met the most incredible guy, and like, making sure that your environment is well-rounded and your immediate circle is well-rounded. And one, they're going to check you when you need it, because we all need to get checked. We are not always right, and we need to get checked, and that is not fun. I don't enjoy it, but I love that I have a circle that will do that for me when I'm off, when I'm missing the mark on something. But I also think we need to be really intentional about where we spend our time, because we don't belong in every room, we don't belong in every podcast, we don't belong in every space, every stage. But the more that you know yourself, the more that you trust yourself, the more that you will show up where you're feeling called to, instead of being like, I want to be everywhere, because we don't. And that's the recipe for absolute burnout and adrenal fatigue and all of the things. Um, and so I think that's a really important piece, is to look at that stuff. And I actually have which I can totally share. It's just a free class that I do every year. It's just let me shed the last year and step into the new year. But it has that circle inventory assessment that's included in that. And I think that's hard for people, because sometimes we go through life and we're like, I've had the same best friend for 40 years. And then you realize maybe that same best friend is why you're stuck. Like, the people that have proximity to you matter. And so being really mindful about where you spend your space and your time is important, I feel like.
Oh, I love it. How have setting boundaries empowered you to live a more authentic and fulfilling life?
Mm. I think the setting boundaries came in a couple different ways. There's the personal side of boundaries, because I do have a podcast. I tell people a whole lot more about my life than I ever thought I freaking would. But there is also a lot of things that I don't share with the world. And I think we have to find for ourselves where that boundary lies. Where is this sacred for me and my family, or myself, and where I'm open to share and teach and pour out this information or this lesson. And I think setting boundaries, not doing it well, will burn you out. It will put you in places where you're like, I don't even know why I'm here. I don't know why I showed up to this. Um, and I also think it really does teach people where the line is. And a lot of people that are really people pleasing people are people that have walked through the world where they had to temperature check in their home environments as little people. And so they go into the world where they're just like, let me do all this for you. And what else can I do? And can I move chairs? Can I like just do and do and do because their worthiness is in the do instead of the being. And I think when you can shift from I have to show up to do something for somebody, for my value to be a value of to others, and you step into me and who I am and what I bring just as my whole self is the value, I feel like that changes and those boundaries naturally happen.
Absolutely. I love it. Um, because I didn't know about time boundaries. So for
Mm.
me, I was just like when I started this podcast, I was having 6 hours sleeps, just 6 hours a night sleep for 6 weeks. I gained 6 kilos because my body didn't
Your
rest.
body's like, you need to sleep. Yeah.
And at one stage, I couldn't even move from this chair to my bed. I was so tired. So boundaries is not just keeping someone out, it's to protect yourself and just know that actually healing can't take place when your body doesn't feel safe. So definitely boundaries is so important. And I love the way that you said that not everyone wants to hear your story, and you must be mindful about what you're sharing and things like that. That is just amazing. And being surrounded with like-minded friends and family. And I know when you're setting boundaries, I don't know about you, but when I set boundaries, I lost a lot of friends and family members
Mhm.
because they couldn't walk over me anymore. Um,
Yeah.
and things, and that is okay to say, you know what? I'm going to leave you now. I'm going to let you go because sometimes we are holding on to our loved ones or friendships. And like you said, it's keeping us, it's like they're still holding, you want to move forward, but they're still keeping you back. So sometimes it's just forgive them, let them go. You can always come around again after you've been on
Mhm.
your journey for a longer time and see if they want to hop onto the bus with you. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that stuff definitely something that was standing out when you were talking like that. It was just like, oh, yes.
Yeah.
If you, what's one practice or mindset shift that has helped you embrace your worth unapologetically?
Gratitude, with hands down. Years ago, I hired a high performance coach, and he taught gratitude journal. It's called a give journal. And so it's gratitude, intention, vision, and execution is what it breaks down to be. But every morning before I get into anything else, I sit in gratitude. And whether I write it down in my journal or I write it in my notebook or I just put on a meditation, I prepare my day with gratitude and however that looks. And I think um, we get a lot of pouring out of the world around us from social media to environments to responsibilities. And for me, gratitude has kept me forward facing when it was really hard. Like business isn't always great and life isn't always sunshine and rainbows and things happen. And so if you can be rooted in gratitude, which I know some people are like, oh, sometimes you just can't be grateful. Like you literally have to train yourself and your brain to look for reasons to be grateful, to look for those beacons, to look for those glimmers, to look for, maybe today the gratitude is my coffee was hot when I got to drink it this morning, and that's still gratitude. And so I think everyone thinks of gratitude or like, I signed a $20,000 client. My podcast went blah, blah, blah. Like we think of these big, huge, massive goals. And I think gratitude can go down to the very minute moments. Like I'm happy I got to have lunch with my husband today. Like we had a lunch date in the middle of the day and like really looking for that. And I do think you also move in the world differently when you're looking to be grateful in general because life just gets better that way. And it's been a practice for me over 5 years now. And I teach it at this point because I'm like, it's essential. I don't think it's anything that I'll ever stop doing every morning.
I must say that is something also that I always do every morning is and every night thanking for a bed because we as children growing up we didn't have a bed, we always slept on the floor. For electricity we didn't have electricity, and it's just the small things. Clothes, I can buy my own clothes. I don't have to go to a Venice or an op shop and people give me their hand downs, or even food. That's something that we didn't have.
No,
Like,
same.
it's just thanking for the smallest thing. So you always have something to be grateful for. Just
I
waking
do.
up today is
Yeah.
such an honor and such a privilege to wake up and go after your dreams today. It
Yeah.
is, we have a lot of things for be grateful. To become a mom, um, have a loyal, loving husband that's not abusing me. I mean,
Yeah.
we can call out so
Oh
many.
yeah, I could spend all day. And I think
Yes.
I had a client tell me just a couple of months back, she was like, I don't always write in my gratitude journal when I wake up in the morning, but every morning when I wake up, when my eyes open, I think about what I am grateful for so that I can write it down. And even just that is a shift because we don't always we sort of wake up and we get into social media, we see something sad and then we're crying and the day is shot and we're playing catch up the rest of the day. And so if we're intentional about that first parts of the moment, the moments when we wake up, I think it's important.
I love it. If you could send one empowering message to women around the world today, what would it be?
Um, how powerful and how impactful you being your whole self and your story is for others, because I think I talk to women every day, not just that I work with, but women that I've interviewed, where you listen to stories and you're just like, oh my gosh, I never would have known. And, so many women come to mind that I've interviewed over the last almost 5 years. Um, and you just think, does she really know how strong she is? Does she really know how brilliant she is? Does she really know how inspired that she makes others when you get to listen to the storm that she walked through, that she stands strong on the other side of? And there's more of us that have that gift, that strength. Um, we just don't always stand on it, or we're not in environments that foster that. And so if you need a cheer squad and it has nothing to do with business, I am very good at that. I am because I grew up feeling like I didn't belong, like I feel like I wasn't smart, like I got held back in elementary school and all of the things that I have thought and overcome the thought processes behind. Uh, I never want another woman to feel like that. And so if your current environment doesn't cheer for you, then come over here. We cheer for everybody. So
Definitely. It's just amazing how we are taking what happened to us in the past and we are creating a ripple effect of change and helping being survival guides for me. Speak Up Queen is for that 17-year-old that was silenced. For her that was silenced, I am doing it for her. I'm healing that part of me. And through sharing our stories and being survival guides for others, it's also like healing some parts of us that needs healing.
oh, absolutely. And I think so much of it is owning those stories, because we all have stories where you're just like, man, I don't really want to tell people that. But when you can own it, then no one has power over it for you. No one can make it tea that they spill and talk about you. Like, you can talk about me all you want. I already own all the messy that I have been, or that I will be. And I think that's a powerful place to be from, because you're not hustling for your worthiness, you're standing on it. And I think that's important.
Last question. What inspired you to say yes to being featured on Speak Up Queen? And what does this opportunity mean to you as a platform to share your story?
I think I don't do a lot of we produce podcasts all the time. I don't do a ton of interviews, which is probably pretty bad because I should be doing more. But I'm at the point where I kind of check the vibes. That's me. I'm like, I people post all the time, and sometimes I'll respond or my team will respond to get me on an interview. But I look at social media, like I take a little bit of time and figure out, like, is this somebody that I really, one, feels like their heart is in the right place? Because there's plenty of shows that do this same message that are mean girls, and I'm not interested. Like, I don't want to be on those shows. And so I'm really excited. I looked at all your social and I was like, oh my gosh, she seems like such a sweetheart. And I was like, I'm in. So I'm very honored to get to share on your show, but I also think uh, there need to be more spaces like this. So I love that you've created this and that you've curated this message, and that you're sharing so many of these stories, because they really do save other women. They save and they help and they heal, and we all need more of that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
My heart just hearing these things is just making my heart like, I'm on the right path. I am on the right path. I am
absolutely.
doing something good. I just love creating these safe spaces because if my 17-year-old could have like a podcast because Spotify was not available when we were growing up,
Hmm.
I mean, there could have been so, not that I would ever change my journey, but for someone who is stuck in a cycle and they don't know, there's so many resources out there. There's so many now access things. You can access anything. You can do a course about, like you said, breath work, NLP, therapy, all these amazing things. We can, and I didn't have a college degree. I was
Yeah, I don't either.
and there is so much things about it was like society ticked off. You have to have a college degree to be able to do this business or this job. You will have to be married at 22, have children at this
Hmm.
age. Tick, 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 tick. And now it's like, I don't want women to waste another minute figuring things out where there's platforms and resources that they can really start. There's so much abundance in the world that
Hmm.
everyone can take from it. And it's just, I'm so grateful that the Lord is putting women in my show and is being part of this mission so that we can inspire and uplift other women to do the same. They don't need to start their own podcast, but just if they can just start believing in themselves, knowing that they are enough. Oh my word.
Yeah.
Can you just imagine how many women out there will start turning their past into building their empires? And oh,
Yeah. It's the belief. Like once you build the belief, there's no limit. There's no glass ceiling or whatever they say. Um, yeah.
I love it. Well, Gabby, thanks for sharing your powerful and inspiring story with us today.
Thank you.
Jenny reminds us of the strength and courage it takes to heal, grow, and thrive. To everyone tuning in, remember your voice and your story have the power to inspire and create change. If today's episode resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and share it with someone who needs this message. Until next time, Queens, keep speaking up and embracing your power.